Yes, guys, Premier League in the books for 2023-2024 season. Apologies, I think, a little bit for us not kind of giving you this big, crazy James McAnjola Arsenal fan reaction to the Premier League. Guys, I'm not gonna lie to you. You've been watching me and James long enough here. You know how highly James and I think of Pep Guardiola, of this Man City team, of the players in this team, all this stuff. Arsenal tried their very hardest, but they're competing with the best. And in any other era, I think Arsenal would have a league title right now. So this is Pep
A
Guardiola's
couple
era,
of league titles.
couple of league titles. And this is Pep Guardiola's era we're in right now. And unfortunately, there's no trophy for second place. But in any era, if there was a trophy for second place against Pep Guardiola, it's basically as good as winning a Premier League title. So again, we don't want to cover old ground. James and I think very highly of this Man City team. I'm sure James is disappointed with Arsenal, but he's also a realistic, rational thinker when it comes to this game. Um, but what it does mean is that we can touch on our Premier League awards, the prestigious box-to-box football Premier League awards. And James, we'll start in a really, really hot place, the biggest awards you can possibly go for. Again, we're going to echo every single other football-related channel and media service, whether it be on new media or old media. Player of the season, no shock, I think, at all for me. Mine is Cole Palmer. Absolute revelation for this Chelsea team. Again, generally speaking, is going to clean sweep a lot of these awards. The environment in which he found himself in, and how he was able to perform, how clutch was able to be, how the biggest differentiator in the success of Chelsea Football Club was this man and his performances. Big fee, hasn't played much senior football in the Premier League for Man City. Everybody questioning the price tag and all this kind of stuff. And we see performances like that. To me, he has to start for England. To me, going into next season, we're looking potentially again at future kind of MVP under a new manager. They're going to build this team for the next 10 years around this guy. Unbelievable performances. I don't know if you had anybody else in mind on your shortlist, but for me,
Uh,
this was very, very easy for me.
Cole Palmer was third on my list, Jack.
Okay.
So to me, these two guys both play on the same team, and I was struggling to pick the one guy shone heavily in the final game of the season, scoring two big goals, and to a lot of people is the player of the season. How he's been able to rise and answer the question that many people ask of him: could he take that next step? And that's Phil Foden. But I think this guy's just ridiculous, and I'm going to give it to Rodri, Jack. I just think in terms of view of the best Premier League midfielder, he is head and shoulders above anybody. Declan Rice is incredible in what he's been able to do, but I don't think he holds a candle to how good Rodri is. There's a reason why Rodri has a 60 match unbeaten streak where whenever he plays, his team don't lose. Man City have lost 3 games this season. He didn't play every single time. Big moments, Jack. He also got the third goal that really settled the nerves against West Ham too. Comes up with big moments, just unbelievable control. And Jack, you know the difference between City having Phil Foden there and difference in them having Rodri there is two completely different things. City may not lose, they still may win if Phil Foden's in there. But if Rodri isn't there, I can guarantee you, because it's happened 3 times this season, they lose. And that's
Right.
the difference. And that's why I'm just gonna put Rodri over Phil Foden. But they both had, to me, player of the season sort of campaigns each.
Again, you're going to get no objections from me. I think you know how I feel about Rodri. This to me is the best player in the world. So I'm sure there are people listening and watching going, well, why is he your not player of the season just in the Premier League? And hey, you'd be absolutely right in terms of saying that. For me, you know the word I'm going to use. Everybody's sick of hearing it. I love people who perform above expectations and in the environment they're in. Can you do more with less? Can you do more with more? Can you do less with more? All these things are very, very important. Cole Palmer and the position he found himself in, he could have very easily had a kind of a nice 5 goals, 7 assists kind of season, and we'd have gone, okay, cool, build for the future, good investment. The type of season Cole Palmer had and his involvement and ability to be clutch and all these things for Chelsea, to me, blew me out of the water. Very, very impressed. Young player of the season. Moving on a little bit here. One thing we're going to do at Box to Box Football, and again, this is less of a James thing, more of a me thing. I think young player 24 is kind of, you should be, especially in certain positions, be hitting your prime. So to me, a young player is 21 or under. And that's as of right now. There are players who were playing in the season who were 21 who then turned 22. I'm saying right now, the end of this season, 21 or under, the names to go for. I've got two that come to mind. Maybe my English bias is kind of eking out here. I think Kobe Mainu has debuted and been unbelievably impressive, potentially forcing his way into starting for an England team, which are somewhat level favourites to be winning the Euros this year. I think that was a huge achievement for him. He really knocked everybody out of the park with his performances at the age of 18 is very impressive. And James Jared Branthwaite for Everton. I think if he's going to make a big move to Manchester City, Manchester United, Chelsea, Arsenal, whoever, this season from Everton, those are because his performances have warranted that. So those are the two big performers, age 21 or under for me. Anybody come to mind for you for young player of the season, age 21 or under?
Jack Brantford was one on my list. To me, I was gonna pick Cole Palmer, but Cole Palmer's 22. But one that was on my list, and the reason why I'm not going to pick him because he doesn't start, but I think he's had an incredible season, has been Harvey Elliott. The amount of impact he's had for Liverpool coming off the bench has been huge, but I find it hard to give it to a player who doesn't start, every game. But it's difficult to start in this Liverpool team. But he has made such a big difference. He's changed so many games, Jack. For Liverpool, like the one that really springs to mind was a Crystal Palace game where he comes on and scores a winner with his left foot. But I'm going to go for Alejandro Garnacho. Manchester United had a terrible season, and we'll get to them soon. He has been a shining light in a load of what this season. So many games against Aston Villa where Man United 2 goals down, he sticks out his chest and he puts on a Cristiano Ronaldo-esque performance. He's had moments, big moments this year. The incredible goal against Everton, just
Oh
moments
my
like
God.
that. And I'm just gonna pip him. Bear in mind, like players that the Kai Sak and Cole Palmer couldn't be picked. I'm gonna go for him. And another one was Destiny Udogie, who plays for Tottenham, but at the
Yeah,
same time injured and missed a good bit of the season at the same time. So that's my player, Garnacho.
tough one. And kind of crazy for both of us, two Manchester United players. So maybe the future's not all doom and gloom for Manchester United going forward. James, I'm going to move over to manager of the season. Now, again, everyone's going to hear that E word that I like to use again with environment. And the two I've got are Unai Emery and Andoni Iraola for Bournemouth. I think with Bournemouth, the one that really stands out to me is after he was able to get his message across, after he was able to get some coaching into these players, I think since the beginning of this year, if the table started in January, I think Bournemouth would be in like a Champions League place or something insane like that. So talk about
Hmm.
taking a team with, again, not working with very much, but doing more with less. Unbelievably impressive. Talking about doing more with less. Unai Emery, I think, deserves a hell of a lot of credit. I just kind of tweeted a little bit of a joke, but going to be a bit of a glow up with Aston Villa moving to an Adidas kit. Maybe we'll start seeing a bit more style and a bit more swagger from them as well. Maybe they can make some additions, keep hold of some of their more talented players as well. We'll see where they can go and watch out for them potentially in the Champions League. So between the two, I'm going to go for Iraola. I just think it's an unbelievable achievement on his part. The third manager who made up my kind of shortlist for manager of the season, James, Mikel Arteta, we still cannot just get used to this thing that he's doing with this Arsenal team. He's not working with the least talented squad in Premier League. Okay, it's still a good quality of squad or whatever, but it's the development of the team, it's the development of individuals, increasing the value of players, the performances, and all this kind of stuff. So he deserves a lot of credit. But to me, Unai Emery and Iraola's job this year was just a bit more than him. I'm going to go with Iraola. I think he's been immense. Who's your manager of the season?
So Arteta was obviously in there. Iraola, massive, massive job he was able to do. Pep was the one that I just thought came to mind because to me it's like now we're not just talking about just winning the title. We're talking about history every single year, Jack, and it's like 4 in a row. That just it blows it. People take for granted. We'll get to that video. Check out the Man City video we're gonna do on Pep. But I gotta say Unai Emery, Jack. Aston Villa are playing Champions League football next season, Jack. Here's a team that barely made that many changes, Jack. Barely brought in players, working with a lot of players that worked with Steven Gerrard, Jack, and they find themselves now playing Champions League football. Granted, their season might plummet a little bit next season, but for them to get Champions League football, Jack, is absolutely incredible. And this might be arguably his greatest achievement. And there's a man who's won 3 European titles in a row. Yeah,
Hey,
so I'm gonna go for like Emery there. Shame he couldn't do that at Arsenal because he probably still would be in the job right now. But Unai Emery is my man.
And guys, I just want to put this out there as well. We're not neglecting Pep Guardiola, but when you set a standard for yourself like he's set, I want everybody to know out there 38 times three is 114. So I think for me, Pep Guardiola is only going to do that when he gets a perfect season, winning every single game, because he set this standard which all other managers we can't even really compare to. And we can't give Pep Guardiola manager of the season every year. It gets boring, okay? James, story of the season. This to me is again really easy, kind of like my Cole Palmer take for player of the season. Jurgen Klopp leaving Liverpool. I mean, that sent shockwaves throughout the Premier League and throughout, again, for not just Liverpool, but yeah, like I say, the whole league itself. I'm gutted to lose him. He's one of my favorite managers of all time. The character, the charisma, and all this kind of stuff. I think that really was a you remember where you were moment when your Bleacher Report app or your BBC Sport News app or whatever came up on your phone saying Jurgen Klopp has said he's going to leave Liverpool. That was my story of the Premier League season. Any storyline to you stick out from the Premier League
Um,
this year?
Two, Man City's quest to get to the fourth. I think we need to stop doing this every single season. Like midway through, oh, this Man City team ain't good. Oh, has Pep lost it? Does the
Right.
player still have the hunger and desire? And then we get to May and it's like, oh, Premier League is boring, man. They always win it. I'm like, guys, just pick. Come on, we do this every year. Oh,
Yeah.
Man City ain't that great. And then it gets to May. Premier League is boring. Man City always win. That story was just great. Moving to the season, but Jack, I have to say, Manchester United and that saga with Eric Ten Hag is just entertainment every single week. Jack, the low gets low, gets lower, gets lower, gets lower. The worst finish in the history of the Premier League, and even just like watching the FA Cup and just the drama that led to them getting to the final, Jack, that alone was a story. The semi-final, that was like, yeah, just that whole club is just a circus to me.
What's crazy is even Spurs, I think, have drawn themselves down into that kind of circus level again, and they're always kind of there. But James, neutral, you want to watch a game of football. I'm watching Man United and Spurs games because I know I'm getting my value for money when I'm watching those games. So again, you take the rough with the smooth with those ones. Signing of the season again. I said I didn't want the guy to get just a clean slate across the board. James Cole Palmer has to be signing of the season. I don't know if you've got any other nominees. I mean, for me, that is
Uh,
clear as day.
it's clear as day for me. I think I always look for value for money. People look at Declan Rice and how much of an impact he's had at Arsenal.
He's been great. Yeah,
Even Kai Havertz to a certain point. The midfielder signed for Liverpool, Argentinian one. It's gonna come to
McAllister,
me.
Alexis McAllister.
uh McAllister. There's a lot of players that like I'm missing my head who's made such a big impact. But Jack, when you sign somebody for 45 million and he's not even your biggest sign, he's not even the most exciting one, and then he literally carries your team in terms of view of the offensive output. Jack, yeah, I gotta go for Cole Palmer. Easy, easy there.
Flop of the season, kind of a difficult one. And what I'm going to do is just throw a few names at you and see what kind of takes your fancy. Because to me, there's a lot of ways you can go. I think Moises Caicedo's kind of underperformed. Romeo Lavia's not played, so I don't know what Chelsea have been playing at this off season. Man City do this every year. They make a signing, it costs a lot of money, and they do nothing, and no one talks about it. So I don't know what Mateus Nunes is up to on that Man City bench with all that money that he cost from Wolves. Mason Mount barely kicked a ball for Manchester United, cost a lot of
Yes.
money as well with 1 year left on his deal. And James, I'm gutted to say it because I love the guy, but Sandro Tonali, this betting thing really has kind of messed up Newcastle's attempts at making Champions League again this year. Any of those names jump out to you, or is there
Uh,
another name that
what
comes to
does it
mind
have
for
to be
you?
a player that Jack? Does it have to be a player that signed or just a player who just underperformed?
We can open it up. Mine was just
Uh,
players that have signed this year, but you do whatever you want.
Jack Grealish to me. I think people as he's gone under the radar completely. He's going to pick up another Premier League title, but I think he's been poor, so many injuries, and yeah, just been very disappointed. With him, Sofian Amrabat. I thought he was going to come in and change life, but this Manchester United team, goodness gracious me, Casemiro. Jack, I could
Yeah,
just got a hold of Manchester United, man.
the whole squad.
Rashford, like that, damn, just Manchester United, man.
Well, we're gonna have to do a video at some point because my folks have like potentially watched the game or I've watched it with other people. You actually look at the starting 11 a lot of the time. You go, he's not going to be here next year. He's got a year left on his deal. He's not going to be here next year. That's a loan signing. And the more you think about it, it's like, oh my God, the amount of players who are going to leave this club who've underperformed and all this kind of stuff. Is the manager going to be there? Like I say,
Oh,
circus is the right word, by
Jack.
the way.
I'll give another one from you who's underperformed heavily. You mentioned Moises Caicedo. I think he's been good compared to Enzo Fernandez. Fernandez to
Yeah,
me hasn't really taken the ball by the horns as much as he should do, and to me, much as his talent has, this boy is has the ability to be a top 5 midfielder in the world, easy. I don't know what's going on with him right now, but he needs to step up his game in my eyes.
yeah, lots of work to do for a lot of big name teams in the Premier League. Manchester United, Chelsea, Spurs, all these teams come to mind. Liverpool, new with Arne Slot. Can Arsenal go again? Guys, the 23-24 season was great. We didn't know who was going to win the title until the last day. I love that. Champions League places, the rest of European places, all this kind of stuff. You've got our awards here in this video in the comments section. We need your player of the season, young player of the season, manager of the season, story of the season, signing of the season, and flop of the season. Make sure you hit a like on the video if you like what you've seen. Hit subscribe if you're not already. There's some crazy percent, like 95% of you watching our stuff aren't subscribed. Do me and James a favor, hit that subscribe button. Until next time, me and James, we will see you.